We have a truck in Lincoln Parish, Louisiana. Wonderful story. We bought a new fire truck. We bought the new aerial that we currently have. And we sold through a broker to Lincoln Parish to a bunch of chicken farmers. Chicken farmers. You got to realize Lincoln Parish is the largest chicken population in the United States per square foot. And when they have a chicken coop catch on fire that has 3 million chickens, they don't want it to burn too long. So the department bought our aerial fire truck. And they showed up in Golden, Colorado. We're kind of little hicks here, in a van, 8 or 9 of them if I remember. And they all hop out. And their first comment is, wow, aren't many minorities in this town. We knew we were in trouble. And one of the men jumps out and he pulls out of his pocket. He's a grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. And this guy's a sergeant. This guy's a major. These other guys, every one of them was a member. So our thought was, get them out of town as quick as possible. Right? They gave us the cash, the check cleared. They got in the truck and they drove it back to Louisiana.
What year was that?
1974. We've looked on the internet, and the last pictures I saw, it was still in service in Lincoln Parish, Louisiana. So now we have these old trucks. Now we move on to some of the more modern stuff. Right after the war was the next unit that we bought, 1947. If you've seen any parades of Golden and you see the old fire truck with the kids in the back, that's the same truck. We never got rid of it. I can look on my records here, but it really doesn't matter. I think they paid in the range of $4,000 right after World War II to buy that truck. So now we're moving to the next modern stage. We have a truck that's quick, carries hose, can do a better firefighting job. Next one came in 1951. If you've seen the parade in Golden and you've seen Lee McBride's Skunk Hollow truck that's purple, that was ours. He bought it from the fire department when it was taken out of service. So there's where it went. Then in the next couple years, the department, and you got to realize, the department was buying these trucks, not the city. This was the volunteers fire department through various fundraisings bought them. So the next few years in there, they bought a brush truck that they used in weed fires, and it lasted quite a while. They bought a milk truck that they used for rescues up the canyon. One thing that you need to remember, Golden is a city fire department. They're not a fire district. A district is a group of people that have gone in a boundary and they pay extra taxes. Ours is included in the city. And so up until 1959, when the last truck was actually bought by the volunteers directly, everything had been pretty well by the volunteers. Then we moved to the next phase. In the early 60s, we got our next bigger truck. It was never going to fit in this station that was uptown, Central Station. And so in 1961, they built this station down here. I have some pictures up here that you may want to look at. But if you put those 1940s and 1950s generation vehicles in it, that's a big fire station. But all of a sudden, we got trucks that were 3 times bigger. And when they sit in front of that old station that used to be out here, they overwhelmed the doors. They were huge. In fact, the doors got hit more than once by several people. So now we had to get a bigger station. That's why we have what we have over here. Then this one was done, 2 years ago, I believe, the new modern station. And that's a whole generation. I'm out of that generation. They've got a nice deal. They got bedrooms upstairs, and they got a whole bit different. But Golden firefighting has not changed that much until recently when John Bales started doing changing. And till that time, it has always been volunteers. Right now, the fire personnel, fire persons are all volunteers. We have no paid people, and that's probably going to change fairly soon here. I see your husband was chief 1957. And I see your husband was chief 82 through 84. The people in the community gave to the community. We're very close to being a paid fire department. We're this close. If the money was there, I think it would actually happen today. And when that starts, the tradition will change tremendously. You know, these are people that on Friday night, I know of one person in the fire department who had a cooler. And in that cooler was always kept a keg of beer. So Friday night, oh my God, in society today, they would go and they would meet at the firehouse. And there would be a large group of them enjoying each other's company. We had a city manager who came along and he said, beer in the firehouse, can't have that. And it went. There was no longer that group meeting on Friday. There was traditions for many years that every fireman helped every fireman. If there was a death in the family, they used to have, you know, the food supplied after the services and stuff. That is a tradition that has gone. There used to be a period of time when Christmas decorations would come right after Thanksgiving, and all the firemen would assemble on a Sunday, and they would hang from the arch and hang from light poles all over Golden a large amount of Christmas decorations. That period gradually diminished. So what we've moved from is a small town fire department of neighbors, gradually more complex, more requirements for training. Our fire personnel today have the same requirements that a paid fireman in Lakewood, Denver, Aurora, or anybody else have. They meet the same standards. And those standards are very strict. They have to be well trained and certified. Well, they're still having to earn a living for their families. And so it's become a greater and greater burden to be a fire person with these standards and earn a living as it's necessary. And it doesn't matter where I go in the United States. The other change that I see in modern fire departments, and I think of an old jury, guys that had schmoxy. You know, you had a fireman who was a plumber, but he was a fireman. So when he got to a fire call, he understood the structure of a house. Or a guy had been a carpenter, or whatever. You had these people. Today, because of the requirements, you have people who come out of high school. They immediately go over to, like we have here, community college. They get their associate's degree at community college. They may get some paramedic training. Then they go and they try and get on a fire department. If they get on a fire department, now these kids have never lifted a shovel of dirt probably in their lives. They've never, they don't even know what you put in your car other than you put this thing in there and this gas goes in. And so they're now having the pedigree, but they don't have quite the practical sense. And there's no way around that. We've been to West Covina, California. We've been to Temecula. Been to a lot of cities, and I go to firehouses all over the United States. And they have the same problem. They have very, very qualified fire personnel who now don't have the basics of life behind them. They've never worked as a carpenter or something else. And so they meet their certifications. So I've rambled on and on. I've skipped most of my notes. I would like some questions, and maybe that will lead somewhere. Hi, council person.
So tell our cyberspace audience what you spend now for a fire truck.
I looked it up, and our last engine, some people call them pumpers, which is another story, but our last engine was $555,000 with a trade-in. And it took a year to get. Time we allocated. We have an aerial fire truck over there that will reach 100 feet. And we bought it at the fire department. We got a $60,000 discount by paying cash. $60,000 discount. We still paid just under $600,000. Today, that same truck's $1.3 million, period. In fact, the company has called us, and they said, if we want to buy a new one, they will give us exactly what we paid for it 15 years ago as a trade-in, because they can sell it. So that's what it's costing. Since 1987, I have written the specs, and I have worked on the equipment committee, and many times I've gone to the factory and been in the bidding process. Since 1987, I was adding up this morning, I have bought for the city of Golden $2.8 million worth of fire equipment. And if you're not familiar, we have the main station here, which has an engine, an aerial, a rescue. Behind it is an older aerial that's going to be replaced, I believe, next year in the budget. A water rescue truck and a brush truck. On Ulysses Street, right down the street from Bell, we have a station that has an engine in it and our old parade truck. Out at the fairgrounds, we call that the West 30 area. We have one fire truck. And then if you go out Heritage Square, we have a pumper or an engine, if you want to call it that. We have a brush truck, a heavy brush truck, and a rescue truck. So we have 4 stations in Golden. And that accumulates about $2.8 million worth of trucks. Okay, Leon.
These early firemen, what about rescue stuff in the creek and so on? Did they do that kind of thing?
Yeah, we have a certified group that do mostly rescue. Even though Clear Creek Canyon is not in the city, the sheriff can ask us to go into the canyon as far up to as 119. And so we take care of people in the river. The story that I love the best is we went to one up there, and there's this lady standing on the hood of her car. The rest of her car is submerged. And they said, well, throw you a life jacket. She's screaming and hollering, we'll get out. And they finally make a ladder bridge out to her, and they put a life jacket on her, and she's screaming and hollering. Well, supposedly when she left the gambling area, she had $50,000 cash. And it's not with her. She wasn't going to leave that pickup. They never found it. So yeah, we handle water rescue in the canyon. We handle high angle rescue in the canyon where people go up hiking and it gets dark and they become disoriented or can't get down. We've had people fall. We've had kayakers biff themselves in the head. If you think about it, we have a ski lift in Golden. We have to rescue people and haven't for quite a while, but Heritage Square has the lift that takes the chair people up. It's basically a ski lift. So we've got that. East of town, we have a major brewery. I don't know, are they part of the city or they're not now?
They're not part of the city.
They, Coors for a long time contracted with the city for fire protection. And then when Kylie and a few of the extreme bean counters came in, this is my opinion, he realized that basically around $250,000, give or take a few $100,000, whatever, they were paying the city was a waste of money. They'll go independent. So right now, if a fire was to occur east of Ford Street, we would stop and say, hi guys, how you doing? So we don't have a protection. We have a fire contract with the porcelain plant that's in the valley, because as you might say, they saw the light. So that's under motion.